Hello, Judy.
Hello.
How are you?
I am fine. I'm just going to take my audio voice off of here.
Oh, yes.
Hang on. Voice disabled. There, voice disabled. How come my head's so big on this thing?
Well, there's a couple of things. You could move further back from the screen, or is your camera part of your screen?
No, it's up on top here.
Okay. Uh, there's you could always move your camera back a little bit, but it works fine. You're looking good.
Oh, thank you, Bill. For an 80-year-old lady.
Well, yeah,
There you go. How's the volume?
that's perfect.
Oh, that's better. Yeah, good. So maybe if I move back here or something, I don't know.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah.
How come you go, how do you sit? Because you've got your whole,
Yeah. Well, I've got mine set up a little differently than I might normally have because I'm doing a speech tonight and I want to move back from the camera. So
okay.
I want to fill the screen more by standing up. So I'm going to be backing up to about here
Oh, I see.
and then standing up.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah. So
Right.
I want to make sure that I'm in focus and in the screen and stuff.
Right. Okay. So the speech I made last time, Bill, I have no idea which one it was or what. I think it was like how I organize a speech or something. I don't know.
I would have to go in on your profile and check, but
Yeah, well, yeah, we won't do it now, but because then I'd like to know what the next one is.
yeah. Well, it's like the old Toastmaster program. You do a speech that you feel comfortable with or that you feel inspired to do, and we make it fit
Oh, I see. Okay.
because
Right.
every path is exactly the same. Step 1, 2, 3, or levels 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Okay.
So we'll make it work.
Okay. So I'll have to think about it for another time. So what do you think
Sure.
about the snow?
Oh, isn't that great?
No. Well, I was out shoveling today. Mike's got the snow blower going, or the tractor going tomorrow, so he's gonna be snow plowing the driveway.
Oh, yeah.
And the dog loves it.
Oh, sure.
Oh my, he's jumping all over the place and getting soaking wet, and
Well,
yeah, he loves it.
plus you'll have some water now.
Pardon?
Plus you'll have some water now.
Oh, yes, for sure, yeah. Who else is here?
We have Greg, who has just joined us from Las Vegas.
Oh, my goodness. Hi, Greg. I think he was here last time.
Yeah. Oh, he's on twice now.
Okay, yeah. Hmm. Bill, did I tell you about Mike's eyes?
Yes, he had cataract surgery done.
No, he had laser
Oh, laser surgery. Okay.
because apparently the reason he couldn't see was there was scarring around the cataracts.
Oh, yeah.
And so Dr. Francis lasered the scarring, and he is a new person.
Wow.
He can read the newspaper, read magazines, he can see the printing on the TV.
Wow.
He can see me. He says, "Oh my God, you've got wrinkles." Yeah,
Yeah.
I burned every one of them.
Yes.
But yeah, it's just amazing, Bill, what he can see.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Hello, David.
No, David.
Yeah. Well, I guess you can hear us. He's just busy in the background there.
Okay. I'm gonna sit in the background now.
2.
Do what?
Sit in the background.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Anyone shoveling today?
Yes, I did.
I didn't.
did.
No,
Unbelievable.
I did an hour yesterday. So I'm saving myself for tomorrow morning.
Yes, good. That's heavy stuff.
Is it?
It's full of water. Like it's
Oh.
not puppy anymore.
Oh,
Yeah,
it
it's
was
pretty heavy.
yesterday.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
yesterday, but now it's packed down pretty good.
Oh
Yeah.
boy.
Pretty heavy. So be careful.
I looked up what we got in that storm in 1996 that shut the city down,
Oh, yes.
Mhm.
and we got 53 centimeters.
Wow.
I'm intrigued to find out how much has fallen over the last day or so.
Yeah. Not that much, but
No. And
wow.
we missed our garbage this morning because they changed the day, being Good Friday on Friday.
Oh no.
It was yesterday. Oh, yes.
Hmm.
Well, I wonder how much snow Greg has.
I've shoveled it all away.
Yeah.
Hold on, I'll be right back.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't going to be a farmer like my dad. I knew that early on.
Yeah.
And I also knew that I could live someplace warmer. And that's how I ended up in Las Vegas.
Oh,
Good for you.
We get snow here once every 3 or 4 years. And usually it lasts for an hour or two. One time
Oh,
it
my.
lasted for a day and a half.
oh, wow.
Wow. Well, we can send some down, Greg. We'll be happy to do that.
Yes, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, put it in an envelope for me.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
A big envelope.
No, actually an hour northwest of here, there's a ski resort at Mount Charleston. And hey Janet, I will drive up there and get a handful of snow and throw a snowball or something.
Yeah.
And I'm up there about 5 minutes, and that's okay. I've got my fix of snow for the year,
Oh, gee.
and that's it.
Well,
My first wife and I were in Lake Tahoe in July, and it was like a scene from a Christmas card.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Just amazing.
Wow.
hello, Carolyn.
Hey, Bill.
Carolyn,
Hello,
Janet?
Carolyn.
I had to go out and come back in. For some reason, my audio and video wasn't working. But it's
Hello,
working now.
Janet.
Hello, have we all survived the snowfall? And I guess Greg said something about I heard him say he got his share of snow. Bring a shovel, Greg. Come around. We got lots of driveways for you
I'm very lucky.
to help us with to see snow.
I snowblowed my driveway, and it's been snowing and snowing and snowing and snowing and snowing. And my neighbor came over with his snowblower on his Kubota and did my driveway again just about an hour ago. So
Oh, that's good.
so I'm
Carolyn.
good. Yeah, I got a good neighbor.
That's
A
good.
good neighbor. He did my driveway, and then I saw the guy across the road from me snow blowing his driveway, and I thought, oh, he didn't get his snow blowed.
Oh, that's nice. You have good neighbors. Everyone else doing okay? Judy, are you okay?
Yep, Mike is gonna use the tractor tomorrow and blow snow, so he was gonna wait till it stopped, so
Well, yeah, I did it once because I thought, no, I don't want to go out there when there's like a huge pile.
Mhm.
So I did mine. But and I like to be out there when the weather's decent and
Well,
it's
it's
going to
not
turn
cold.
colder.
Mhm. It's not cold out.
No, it's not cold out.
No.
2 minutes.
Is it icy? Like where you guys are? Icy on the
It was
roads? or-
icy on my front deck.
Hello.
It was icy on the
Hi, David.
deck itself.
Good.
But underneath the snow, and now I've got another at least 5 centimeters or better on the deck again.
Oh, yeah.
So I'll have to shovel it off again. I'm not shoveling off my back deck. It can stay there till it melts.
Way to
okay.
go.
No, I don't care.
Yeah.
I made a
All
little
right.
bit of a
So
path from my back
we'll
door
get
to my
somebody to
garage
fill
and
in
that's
for
it.
you,
I'm not
and,
doing anything more.
if you can join us later on, that'd be fine. If not,
And
then,
David, how
we'll
are
see you
things
next time.
going? Eve, Greg, haven't talked to you guys.
Oh, I'm not seeing Eve. I see his name, but I don't see him.
There's Greg. Like your
There's
nice
Greg.
background. Wish it was
Okay,
that
there's
sunny
two.
and
There
bright here.
we got 2 Gregs.
Oh, for sure.
One's the evil twin and one's the good twin,
Yeah.
right, Greg?
Okay.
I've got,
Well,
well,
we'll
I have
understand
the,
if you
my
can or
camera
can't.
on my
So,
iPhone is
take
so
care of
much
your
better
mom
than my
first.
desktop. But I want to be
Okay,
able to
David.
see everybody's faces,
Thanks.
so
Bye.
I'm on my iPhone. I'm also
Where
on my desktop.
is everybody?
1 minute.
We don't have our Toastmaster on yet, and I just got a call from our grammarian, David Savioli, and he's had a family emergency. His mother had a fall, and he's
Oh,
got
dear.
Oh,
to
Lord.
rush over and look after her, maybe potentially take her to the hospital.
Oh, I hope she's okay. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
for
not
sure.
good weather. It's for
No,
well, for any of us, but it's worse when you're an older person.
yeah,
It is 7 o'clock, everyone.
yeah. Well, I think it's safe to say that we could extend it just a little bit to see if we get the rest of the people that we expect to see, Jeremy and
Matthew.
Matthew.
Matthew's always a little bit late because of his kids, and that's understandable.
Mhm. Yeah.
For somebody with small kids, this is the wrong time of the night to have a meeting. They're getting ready for bed and all that kind of thing. So.
Yeah.
So how much snow did you get over there, David?
I would say a lot.
Did you get a foot? I got a foot.
Wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I got a foot here.
That's what we did too.
Well, yeah, you're not far away from me, Judy. So out this
No.
way, we always get a little bit more than they get in town, or
Yeah.
almost always. But the last time we got snow, they got more over that side of town than we got. So here, but this is the worst. This is the only storm. Like, I think this is only the second time I've had to take my snowblower out all winter. So,
I was mentioning earlier, I looked up to see how much we got in January 96, and we got
Oh.
53 centimeters, which I thought was quite low. I thought we got a lot
That's-
more than that.
I
But
think,
that's
yeah, we may have got, okay, but they're only counting maybe that one day, but we may have got more like other days along with it. Like the day
Could be.
before, the day after, that kind of thing. Because we did have a lot that year. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I won't forget that one. That was a bad storm. Not that this one isn't, this one, but considering the time of the year, it's not going to last long. So,
No. Mind you, it's not supposed to warm up till later next week.
well, that's okay.
We'll see. We'll see.
We'll see. Yes. And that's okay. I've got nowhere to go.
Fatal.net or Jeremy Fleck.
Hello, Jeremy.
I remember growing up, in northwestern Minnesota. And when I was 10, we had a mild winter and we actually had the machinery out in the backyard getting everything ready. The next day we were going to start preparing the fields for planting wheat and barley. And there was a storm that came in, a weather front, and it just stayed there. And it started snowing, and it snowed for a week straight.
Oh, I can believe that. Yeah.
And we were fine, except that when it got done snowing, we couldn't see out the windows. And when we pulled up raised the garage door, we just saw a sheet of snow.
Yeah.
And we had to tunnel out, and then we had to, shovel, because we couldn't get to the machinery, the snow blowers on the tractor. And so we had to shovel, and we shoveled the entire day. It was one of our hired men and my dad and myself and my brother. And that morning we started about 9 o'clock and we finished somewhere around 6, and we just shoveled all day long.
Wow.
That was amazing. It just, like I said, it literally snowed for a week straight. And
Wow.
I have no idea how much snow we got, but I've never
when-
seen that much snow.
Okay. When was that, Greg?
That was in 66.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we had a couple of years. We had a couple of years where we had, and it was around 65, 66, where we had, like in October, I think we had 2 major storms, and one we had 15 inches and the other one we had 25 inches. It was awful.
Yeah, I remember we had a cold snap one winter a couple of years later. I think this was like in 1970, where for 3 weeks it never got above 30 below. And the local TV station went to one of the local bars and was interviewing people, asking what they thought about the cold weather. And the father of one of my English teachers, his name was Knut Carlson. He was a jokester, and they asked him what he thought, and he went, "Oh, I knew when they landed that man on the moon, it was going to disturb the weather patterns, and it would never be the same."
Yeah.
Well, I remember around that time here when it was so cold that the poplar trees were just snapping like gunshots going off from the cold weather.
For Jeremy.
Yeah.
It was
Jeremy.
awful. But we haven't had thank goodness, don't want that kind of weather.
Yeah, we sometimes, maybe we'll get down, this year we got down to 32 degrees. That was the coldest it got.
I don't know if we even got that cold.
Yeah.
If we did, it would have been only just 1 or 2 days. Hey, Matthew, you made it.
Yeah, had a little trouble connecting there, but
I have a question. Who would I talk to get added to the club website?
Bill?
Yeah.
Would that be Eve?
Bill?
Bill? Okay.
Or Eve. I mean, Eve could probably do it something too if you wanted to.
Sorry, I was just on a call trying to get Jeremy onto the call. I mentioned
He's
heard
here
my name.
now.
It looks like he's here.
Yeah.
But he's on mute.
I heard my name being mentioned.
Website.
Would you add
No,
me
we
to the
don't.
website, Bill?
Oh, Eve actually has been looking after the website, and I'm not sure where he is with it.
There he is. He's just come on.
He's still muted.
You're mute, Eve. You're
You're
mute.
on mute, Eve.
I know. Thank you. The website is kind of a dead item. It's just there because it's a contact with Toastmasters International. Sure, I can send you the information to link up to it if that's what you wish. Not a problem.
Thank you.
Jeremy, are you with us?
Jeremy, if you are there, you're mute.
You knew about that?
Thanks, love.
Seems to have changed somewhat. What I want.
There you are.
Now,
There you are.
now I'm here. As a meeting actually started, by the sound of what I'm hearing, it has not.
No,
So I
no.
have to. My august duty is to invite. I say to open the meeting, bring it into session. The 26th of March, Westfort Toastmasters 9N5 meeting. Okay, I've done that piece. The next thing I will do is read through to my flag and to the country it represents. I pledge respect and loyalty. Wave with pride from sea to sea, and within your folds, keep us ever united. Be for all a symbol of love, freedom, and justice. God keep our flag. God protect our Canada. I've got a slight problem right now, so it's hard to read here and there. Thank you. Invite the table topics master, and also the Toastmaster to take over now. And I have a few questions. Am I required to do speech evaluations on shall I say, the normal speech? What's happening?
Speech evaluators tonight, Jeremy, are Janet and Eve. So Janet will be evaluating Bill and Eve will evaluate Greg.
So I won't be trying to evaluate. But I say, I once tried to evaluate a speech. It was at the previous club. It was Silver Tongues. I made a right mess of it. So I decided I'm not going to evaluate in the future, especially if it's those meetings that are sort of non-technical, if they're inspirational, things like that. I just don't get them. So I'd rather
Hey,
not
Jeremy,
evaluate such.
it's Matthew's turn now, so I'm going to mute everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you. Welcome to this March 26th meeting of the Westfort Toastmasters. And before we begin, we'll just take care of the agenda and make sure everything is all set for today. Sorry, I've just been having trouble bringing it up myself here. So Janet, are you ready with a joke tonight?
I am, as corny as they may be, I am.
And I see David Savioli was supposed to be our vote and awe counter, but I saw an email that he couldn't make it. So look, David is going to volunteer to take over the vote and awe counter. Thank you, David. And then tonight we have two speakers. Bill, are you ready with a speech tonight?
I am.
And Greg, you're ready with a speech as well?
I am emotionally prepared.
And Carolyn is going to be our timer tonight. And David Savioli was supposed to be our grammarian as well. Is there anybody who would like to fill that role tonight?
I think David Goldsworthy said he would. Is that true? No? Okay.
Okay. Well, If
I can try
nobody,
to fill in. I can try to fill in. I can at least do the vote part of it.
okay. Jeremy, are you ready to be the quizmaster?
I'll come up with a word, Matthew,
Okay, thank you.
but it'll be a double word. It'll be fair weather supporter.
That's a good one. Then I'll be doing table topics tonight. Then Janet and Eve ready as our evaluators.
Yes.
And David, you're ready to do our general evaluation.
Mhm.
So first, I'm going to begin with an invocation. I chose the theme of sports playoffs because it usually happens in spring. There's hockey playoffs, basketball playoffs, and if you're a baseball fan, baseball's just beginning. If you're a soccer or football fan, that's beginning as well for you. And this year, there's actually a new hockey league that started up, the Professional Women's Hockey League, and they're also going to be having their playoffs this year. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Maybe Toronto might have a chance in the PWHL this year. But I was just looking into it. Bars and restaurants report a huge boost in business during the playoff season. I'm not sure exactly what percentage is. Sometimes it depends. If a team near that city is in the playoffs, then they do really well. But sometimes if the local team is not in the playoffs, they don't. They unfortunately don't do as well. But also locally, the Thunder Bay North Stars are in the playoffs this year. I got to go see a game with my daughters back at the beginning of March, which I highly enjoyed. It was very affordable. $14 a ticket, so you really can't go wrong. Now, whether you're a hardcore sports fan or not, sometimes it's hard not to get caught up in the playoffs, especially if the team nearby is in it. For example, if the Winnipeg Jets go all the way this year, I imagine a lot of people in Thunder Bay will be cheering them on. If the Toronto Maple Leafs happen to go all the way this year, again, a lot of people will be playing. So whether or not you're a hardcore sports fan or not, let's just hope your team wins. So raise your glass. Let's hope our team wins.
Let's hope our team wins.
Next, I'd like to, I'll turn it over to Janet for the joke.
Thank you. I have some jokes centered on sports, given our sports playoff themes. I need to take a comedy course, everyone, but I hope you will laugh at my corny jokes, sports jokes, nonetheless. These center on hockey, since we're in cold Canada or maybe hot Vegas with someone with a Minnesota heart. Why do please feel free to shout out your answers. Why do the Germans always get beat by the Canadians in hockey? Canadians bring the A game, while Germans bring their worst. What do you give a hockey player when he demands to be paid? A check. Hockey players are like goldfish. Just tap on the glass to get their attention. Why are hockey players so good at making friends? They're quick to break the ice. What's the difference between hockey and wrestling? In hockey, the fights are real.
Good one.
why, what's the difference between basketball players? Oh, sorry. This joke is on how many teeth does a hockey player have? Don't you mean tooth? And let's do another couple. What did the skeleton drive to the hockey game? Zamboni.
Only.
Last one. Where does a majority of a hockey player's salary come from? The tooth fairy. Back to you, Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you, Janet. Next, we're going to go to guest and member introductions. Try to allude to the theme of the meeting and also whether you'll be paying attention to the playoffs or only paying attention if your team's in it. And also try to work in the word of the day as well. And start off with your name and role. Timer, how much time would we have for this?
We could have try to keep it to a minute, minute and a half.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm just going to go in the order I see you on my screen. So first up, we have Bill Vanderwater.
Good evening, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. My name is Bill Vanderwater, DTM. Sports playoffs to me is just another waste of television time interfering with regular programming. There are so many good programs that I could be watching that are preempted by those senseless sports playoffs where the team with the biggest salary cap is probably the one that is most likely to be victorious. And if not, it's probably the team that wins the most fights and ends up knocking out the most teeth when it comes to hockey. As far as basketball is concerned, I think I've kind of lost interest in basketball since the Toronto Raptors. I don't think they've won a game in the last 12 games they played. So I'm kind of giving up on them as well. So unfortunately, sports playoffs, they're going to take a back seat to just about everything in the near future for me. Mr. Toastmaster.
Next, we have Judy.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. I don't know that I could be like Bill and go that far about sports playoffs, but I don't have TSN, and that bothers me because the curling playoffs were on just the other day, and Canada won. My goodness, the world, good grief. They beat Switzerland, and we won. Canada curling, yay. But I had to text my daughter every time they scored or something because I don't have TSN. And I'm trying to get it and I don't know how, and I don't know, you have to get a whole bunch of other stuff. But playoffs, I agree with you, Bill. I'm not going to be that bad because I don't get TSN, so I don't get to watch them anyway. But Canada won in the curling, and I think that's great. And people never watch sports, but they end up watching the playoffs. So I don't know. I don't know all about that. And the word, I didn't quite get it, David. So I'll use it another time, maybe in table topics. Mr. Toastmaster. I forgot to say my name. I'm done.
You're still muted, Matthew.
Sorry, yeah. You froze there for a bit on my end. So next up we have David Goldsworthy.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. Bill, there is such negativity. The only channels we watch are the Sports Network and TSN. All the rest of TV is rubbish. All these period dramas, negative news. Watch sports. It's uplifting. The fighting in the hockey, the fighting on the curling ring. Wow, that's something that we must look for. The other thing is, I am not a fair weather supporter. My hockey team, the Canucks, who came into the NHL in 1970, have been in the finals 3 times. And how many times have they won? But I still support them, and I hope they beat the heck out of those Winnipeg Jets. What a team. Oh, so Madam, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, I am not a fair weather supporter. Which, Judy, is the word of the day? Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
So next up we have Carolyn.
Okay, just let me get my thing set up here. Okay, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. My name is Carolyn Horde, DTM. I am probably the world's worst sports fan. I do not like watching sports on TV, except there are exceptions. And I do have TSN and I never watch it, Judy. I wish I could give it to you.
Aw.
But I did see the last little bit of the curling though the other day. But I like to watch golf. And that's about it. I used to watch the Blue Jays, but I haven't watched them for a while now. But I don't know. I just think it's a waste of time sitting there watching sports on TV. Although, as I said, I do watch golf and a lot of people say, oh, that's so boring. But to me, it's not. So with that in mind, that's what I like. And I'm not a, what did you say, fair weather, whatever that word is, David? That would be me, because I do sometimes, if I know that a Canadian team is getting close to winning, I will watch the end of the game that I think they're going to win. Other than that, I could care less. Mr. Tabletop or Mr. Toastmaster.
Next up we have Eve.
Oh, good evening, Toastmasters and new member Greg. Yes, Yves Prévost is my name. I'm going to be your speech evaluator tonight, Greg. I am calling you from Eastern Ontario, where we have no snow. Today was like plus 18 degrees
Oh,
and it was balmy. I went running as part of my marathon training today in shorts and a singlet. So it was beautiful. No problems. That's my sport. I participate in my sport. I follow, of course, the leaders in my sport, which is running. I follow internationally, nationally, and even locally. Those are my sports. However, the NHL, the NBA, the Major League Baseball, like who gives a shoot about any of that? Like they're millionaires playing against millionaires. It's so boring. And what's even worse is this sports betting. Why do we have sports betting? The games are all fixed. It's just like not even real anymore. It's like the worldwide wrestling of several years ago. Fake fighting, fake entertainment. It's just useless, waste of time and space in the universe. Olympics, that's where it's at. Every 4 years, Summer and Winter Olympics. I enjoy those. I follow that every day. And I'm glad they exist because they are inspiring. Professional sports are not inspiring. It's just a bunch of baloney, phony baloney. Mr. Toastmaster.
Next up, we have Jeremy.
Mr. Is it Toastmaster or which? And I have to admit, they made a damp rag on it. So I'm one of those people who's not a sports follower. I know I've been receiving a TV advert saying, how great, you can get all these sports channels. So what? But I'm not really a follower of sport, and therefore I cannot really have a very long response here. It's there. I'm not against it. I used to maybe follow a little bit of soccer in the past, and maybe a little bit of so-called field hockey. But the hockey that we have here is in many ways a mystery to me. Don't think I can say very much more. So I'm going to say, Mr. Toastmaster.
Next up, we have Janet.
Mr. Toastmaster and fellow Toastmasters. Fairweather supporter. Well, I suppose that is something that's associated with sports, but I guess you could call me a diehard supporter, at least when it comes to teams like the Boston Bruins, because I grew up with a poster of Bobby Orr in our house. You see, my dad was a supporter of the Boston Bruins. And when I first met Bobby Orr, he was like a god to me. Very, like, it was incredible that here was the poster converted to the actual hockey player. I enjoy all kinds of sports and watching all different playoffs. And Carolyn, I may even join you sometime in watching golf. I really like combative sports. So you get me there when there's a hockey or a boxing match going on, or karate or judo, and I'm right there at what you might call the playoffs, or the equivalent of the playoffs in those sports. Are you a Fairweather supporter or a die-hard supporter? Back to you.
And next up, we have Greg.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. You know, it just so happened that today I'm wearing a sweatshirt from the 1991 Minnesota Twins Championship Series. That was the last year that they won the World Series. Now, I've been a diehard supporter of the Minnesota Twins and the Minnesota Vikings ever since I knew what sports were. Now, the Twins haven't won for 33 years, and it may be another 33 years before they ever win the series again. Now, the Vikings, that's a painful topic. The last time they went to the Super Bowl was 1977. And I've kind of resigned myself to the fact that even though I will always root for the Vikings, now I'm 68, and if I live another 30, 40 years, I'm resigned to the fact that the Vikings will almost certainly not win the Super Bowl in my lifetime. If I'm reincarnated, maybe. Maybe. Now, to add insult to injury, I'm also a fan of the basketball team in Phoenix, the Phoenix Suns. Phoenix Suns have been around since 1968. They've been to the finals 3 times, not close any of those 3 times. So I am not a Fairweather supporter. I am a diehard supporter, and it is painful. Mr. Toastmaster.
My name is Matthew McKenzie. Tonight I am going to be the Toastmaster, as well as I'll also be doing table topics, but we're going to do a little different, as well as the evaluations tonight, and I'll have more on that later. When it comes to the playoffs, if my team's in, the Winnipeg Jets, I'm a diehard fan. I'm say go all the way. I would like to see them win a Stanley Cup one of these days. And if the Winnipeg Blue Bombers could win the Grey Cup in the same year, Winnipeg could be the city of champions. Unfortunately, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers have made the Grey Cup the past 2 years and have come up short. Especially this past year, nobody expected Montreal to even make the playoffs. That was quite the change. However, if a Canadian hockey team makes the Stanley Cup finals, I will become a fair weather supporter and hope the Canadian team wins. Unfortunately, it's been almost 31 years since a Canadian NHL team last won the Stanley Cup. I'm hoping it can happen soon. But locally, we'll see maybe if the Thunder Bay North Stars can win, can make the playoffs or even win the championships in the SIJHL. Would really love to take my kids to one of the playoff games if they have an afternoon game, but we'll see how that goes. But whether you're a diehard or fair weather supporter, we all hope your team does really well, and I say go team. So next we move to the speaking portion of the meeting. Our first speaker tonight will be Bill Vanderwater. And he is doing a speech out of the Level 1 project 3 of 5, Introduction to Vocal, Variety, and Body Language. Have you ever had a day where things go from bad to worse? In this presentation, Bill will be attempting to add some humor while telling a story about one of his experiences. This project is designed to help you learn the basics of presenting with engaging vocal variety and compelling body language. This project will be the third project of 5 requirements in Bill's path engaging humor. Timer, Bill is asking for 5 to 7 minutes. The title of Bill's speech is, What's the Worst Thing That Can Happen? Bill Vanderwater, what's the worst thing that can happen?
What's the worst thing that could happen? Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters? Well, that depends on the context of the situation. Let's say you're in the corner store picking up a carton of milk. Normally, that would be a pretty tame process. That's what started the next sequence of events for me on that very fateful day. As I closed the sliding door of the cooler, a masked thug entered the store, waving a knife, and shouts to the cashier, "Give me all the money in the till and don't make any sudden moves." What's the worst thing that could happen? Well, so far he hasn't seen me. I could just duck down behind the counter, call 911 on my cell phone. But I know the cashier, Jenny. She's the daughter of my neighbor. She works part-time evenings and weekends to earn enough money to help with her tuition when she starts college in the fall. She's terrified, and fumbling to open the cash drawer, she knocks over a rack of candy bars sitting on the counter. The thief is now agitated and waves the knife closer to her face. What's the worst thing that could happen? The thief could panic and hurt her. I must do something. I reach for a can of spaghetti sauce on the counter in the shelf in front of me. Like a quarterback throwing a Hail Mary pass, I throw a perfect spiral into the stomach of the thief. He drops the knife, wincing in pain. What's the worst thing that could happen? Well, now he's seen me. He painfully picks up the knife and turns his attention to me. I grab a second can of spaghetti, and with the accuracy of a sharpshooter, I hit him squarely in the face, knocking him to the floor. Now his nose is bleeding, and he's becoming a very angry individual. What's the worst thing that could happen? He's in a great deal of pain, and only now do I realize he must be high on something that's giving him such extraordinary endurance. As he struggles to his feet once more, he charges towards me, holding his ribs, obviously in pain. His nose is bleeding profusely, and he's waving the knife and screaming obscenities at me. I dance around the shelves, leading him away from the storefront, keeping him occupied. He's following me, waving the knife and threatening me. All the while, I'm picking up cans of soup, boxes of crackers, packages of buns, bottles of ketchup, mustard, and syrup, heaving at him to keep him at bay. The store is now a mess, littered with broken bottles, pools of ketchup, mustard, and syrup all over the floor, squashed bread and bun packages, and a trail of blood from the thief's wounds littering the now slippery aisles of the store. He's slipping and sliding on the sticky mess, closing ground as he inches way closer to me. It was when he got within a few feet of me that I ran out of things to throw at him. My arsenal was empty, and I was now vulnerable as he got closer to me, chasing me around the now empty aisles. I then heard the most welcome sound, approaching sirens. It gave me hope that maybe I could survive this ordeal. As the uniformed policemen entered the store, they surveyed the mess that had been created and proceeded to put both me and the thief in handcuffs until they could determine what had happened to create such a mess. What's the worst thing that could happen? The reality is that the store's owner had staged the holdup as part of his training program to see how his staff would react in an emergency. The correct way to deal with the situation was to give up the money without delay, get a description of the culprit, and then call the police. No one gets hurt. Money's easier to replace than a good cashier. What's the worst thing that did happen? I got a bill from the store owner for the broken and damaged cans, bottles, and containers, not to mention that the store had to be closed for 2 days while the cleanup crew sorted out the mess and restocked the shelves. I got a subpoena to appear in court on a charge of assault causing bodily harm from the hired actor who was posing as the thief. In addition to all of that, I received a ticket from the police department for the use of excessive force during the commission of a crime. What's the worst thing that could happen? Well, let me tell you with certainty that it all depends on the context of the question. The next time I'm faced with a choice of whether to react and come to the aid of someone in distress or just walk away, I'll not hesitate to act. I'll just wonder, what's the worst thing that could happen? Mr. Toastmaster.
So we are going to do things a little different here. So what we're going to do instead is everybody will speak for 1 minute and give Bill an evaluation of what you thought of his speech, where he could improve, and what the strengths and weaknesses were. So I say timer, we give everyone 1 more minute to gather their thoughts, and then we'll proceed. All right. So just give Bill for about a minute, tell him what you liked about the speech and where you think you could improve on. And I'm just going to go in the order as I see you on the screen. So first we'll
Matthew,
go. Yeah.
Matthew, should we not do this during the general evaluation session?
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so we'll leave that part to the general evaluation. And next up, we're going to have Greg will be speaking tonight. Greg, I don't know if I got a little introduction from you at all. I'm able to find one there.
Eve, would you forward it to him, please?
I'm sure he got it. I'll have to spend some time here looking for it now.
If you can't find it, I can resend it.
Yes. I'm sure he got it. Let's see. Well, I'm forwarding it right now. So. Okay, it's off. So you should be getting.
Yep. Thank you. So our next speaker is preparing for the International Speech Contest. Today he requests feedback for the current version of his speech. Please ask yourself these 4 questions. What emotions do I feel? How is the flow of the speech? What worked best for you? What one suggestion you have for improvement? With his speech, Live for Two, help me welcome distinguished Toastmaster Greg Bujoro. Joe. I might have said that wrong. I apologize.
Greg, my time is almost up, and I haven't done anything with my life. Did my life even matter? 5 years ago, my friend asked me to talk with his 18-year-old son, David, who is losing his battle with cancer. David, you might appreciate the story of my friend Kevin from college and his final message to me. Kevin and I met in our dorm my freshman year in college. He was 6 feet tall with curly blonde hair. We belonged to a group that became 10 friends. All of us were quiet and hardworking, and everyone really liked Kevin, and you could always count on him. After the love of his life spurned him, Kevin never married. He grew up as an orphan and dirt poor. And since financial security was so important to him, he threw himself into building his business. 10 years after college, Kevin was driving home one night, and when a semi-truck drifted over into his lane and crushed his vehicle, paramedics had to use the jaws of life to extract him from his crumpled car. Kevin was airlifted to a local hospital, and after dozens of tests, the ER doctor told Kevin, "It's a miracle you're still alive. Your internal injuries are massive. There's nothing we can do. You probably won't make it through the night." Friends, if you knew today was your last day, how would you spend your remaining hours? David asked, "Greg, what did Kevin do?" That night, Kevin asked for a recorder and cassette tapes, and he recorded a final message for each of his college friends. "Hey, Greg, remember that March night when I convinced everyone to go skinny dipping in the Missouri River? We were blue when we got out. Or when we beat our arch rivals from our dorm in intramural basketball. How about the time I connected the intercom in Peter's room to his phone, and we all heard what should have been a private conversation between him and his girlfriend?" I miss Kevin, but not his pranks. "Greg, there's so much I'm never going to get a chance to do. I ask that you live life to the absolute max. I ask that you live for two and twice as much for yourself." David, we 9 remaining college friends met in Chicago to celebrate Kevin's life. Before we spread his ashes on the shore of Lake Michigan, we each shared our favorite memories of Kevin. And we all agreed that with his final tape message, Kevin lived on in our hearts. David, Kevin's words made me ask myself, how can I live my passions and make a difference? What do you do to improve the lives of others? Kevin's message inspired me to live for two. And you know what? I found I was living twice as much for myself. So I asked David, would you ask your family and friends to live for you and for yourself, for themselves? David assured me, "I will, Greg, I will." Sharing Kevin's story helped me rediscover his final message. At that time, 5 years ago, I was doing online marketing, and I realized I wasn't making enough of a direct difference. I decided to get my real estate license. And today I dramatically change people's lives. one family at a time. And one additional benefit, today I earn substantially more than I did 5 years ago. And I'm driven to ensure a financial future where future generations of my extended family can go to college. I'm creating a family college educational trust. And if I live long enough, there'll also be down payments for homes. With my final breath, I'll be able to say, my life mattered. Kevin may be gone, but his message continues to inspire me. Maybe you never received a dying request. Let Kevin's message inspire you too. What could you do to live more fully? How could you make more of a difference? Live twice, live for two, and live twice as much for yourself. Mr. Toastmaster.
Okay, so now we'll take a couple of minutes there just to gather your thoughts there. And then during the general evaluation, we'll give Greg our feedback. All right, so it looks like the time's up there. And at this point, do we want to take a little break or just keep moving on? Sounds like just keep moving on. So next, we're going to move into the table topics. We won't, just to keep the time down a little, we won't have everyone speak tonight. Timer, how much time do you think we could give each speaker tonight?
It's up to you.
Okay. So I think we'll keep it to a minute and 30 seconds.
Sounds good.
And so the table topics tonight, they'll follow along with the theme of the meeting and be asking questions about sports related items, and then I'll just question you as I see on the screen there.
Don't ask everybody questions. They'll go for Only a few because we're gonna have all those evaluations later.
So first up, I'll say Judy.
Yes, Mr. Table Topics Master. Am I supposed to be seeing something on the screen?
Sorry, I muted myself by accident. Sorry about that. When you were younger, was there a sport that you played a lot and maybe played when you were a little older as well?
Mr. Table Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters. When I was in school, I had to play baseball when we went out for recess. I hated it. I hated baseball. I could never hit the ball. And then when I was out in the field, I was always afraid that the ball would come to me and I'd have to catch it. And I never did catch it. I was horrible at sports. And I was nervous. I was a nervous wreck when I was a kid. I didn't like basketball either because I was afraid the ball would come to me and I'd have to go bouncing down the thing or stand there and I could never get it in the net. But when I was older, one thing I did love was curling. I was good at curling. My goodness. Mixed curling, ladies curling. They said I was good and I really relished that because something I was good at, and I liked curling. It was a little bit cold sometimes, but I could hit that rock at the other end and I would hit the broom and I knew what I was doing. And one thing I did like very much was curling. That's why I liked it when Canada won the other day, the world's curling, the home and rink from Ottawa. So curling is it for me. Mr. Table Topics Master.
So next I'm going to call on David. I know that you've been in Canada for a while, but before you left the UK, was there a soccer or football team that you really liked and still follow today?
Thank you, Mr. Table Topics, fellow Toastmasters. Go Reds, go Reds. Not Manchester United, Liverpool. Liverpool have always been my football team. Soccer team is the Vancouver Whitecaps. I only lived in Vancouver for 14 years, but that was my first 14 years in Canada, and I still support the Whitecaps, the Canucks. I used to support the team that became the Grizzlies in, I believe, Memphis. I played cricket, that wonderful game that very few of you know anything about, with fantastic googly leg before wicket, all manner of different phraseology that only cricketers know about. And like Jeremy, I still watch field hockey, which is played by US universities. I really enjoy that game, and I actually played field hockey, and I have the scars to prove it. Back to you, Mr. Table Topics.
Next, I'm going to call on Jeremy.
Me, who are you calling? Mr. Table Topics Man. First, I start with repeating my previous statement that I'm not a wild sports fan. I don't sit there in front of a television all the time watching. I've no disrespect for all the hockey around here. In fact, you could say that it is the Canadian religion.
Okay.
Right? As Sir David was saying, most of my sports were at the school level. And yes, field hockey. I participated in a certain amount. But in soccer, I mostly tended to be a back, so I could give the ball a good boot. And I remember one slightly amusing incident when the game was temporarily halted, but somebody had to retie the laces on his boots. And somebody moved the ball. He was down, hunkered down, and the ball came along and wedged itself violently under his behind. There was a bit of a laugh there. The other game I sort of participated was cricket. That's another game, vaguely like what you know around here, baseball. Get a different sort of bat. That could be fun, especially there was a version of it called rounders, which you used to indulge on, which are very like the game. And that about describes my sport experience. I'm not an avid follower. I don't go screaming, shouting when something happens on the TV. I found they were enjoyable rather than producing strong, evil feelings that I hear on some of them. Mr. Tabletop Smash.
I think we got time for one more. And I was going to call on Eve. I think I may already know the answer to this question. But let's just say you won an all expenses trip paid to see a sporting event in person. Which event would you choose?
Oh. Mr. Tabletop Master, Toastmasters, maybe you don't know the answer to this. I don't know if you're aware, but I'm also a huge fan of sumo wrestling. As you probably remember, I was in Japan in the year 1999 to 2000 for a year. And that's when I became sort of addicted, I guess, and knowledgeable about sumo. And ever since then, I have been wanting to go back to see a sumo tournament. There are 6 of them in a year. And one of them just finished just now. Sumo is a wonderful sport. It's not just a bunch of big fat men pushing each other out of a ring. It has so many layers. There's so much culture. This has been around for several hundreds of years. And one other thing you probably don't know is I'm a Facebook administrator of a sumo page that I created in 2008. I have over 10,000 followers. So it's a really active site and there's lots of activity, lots of questions, lots of information flowing from people all over the world. It's a lot of fun. So I don't think you could have guessed that it would be going to Japan to listen or view a sumo tournament, Mr. Tabletop Master.
Yes, that did surprise me. I honestly thought you would have said Boston Marathon. So next, we're going to move on to the general evaluation portion of the meeting. And we're going to do it a little different with the after Janet and Eve have given their evaluations. We'll invite each person to speak for 1 minute to give their feedback to the speaker. So I will turn it over to the general evaluator. Help me welcome David Goldsworthy.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. As general evaluator, it's my job to evaluate the meeting as a whole. However, I have, as you all know, numerous helpers to achieve that purpose. And the first person I'm going to call upon will be speech evaluator Janet to evaluate Bill's speech. Help me welcome Janet.
Thank you, Mr. G, and fellow Toastmasters, and most especially our speaker, Bill. In Bill's speech today, his objectives were to inject vocal variety and purposeful body language into his speech. In his speech, what's the worst thing that could happen? Bill did just that. In your speech today, speech evaluation today, Bill, I will offer you a few points that I really enjoyed and some aspects for your consideration to improve your speech, as well as a challenge for you. Bill, I loved how you kept repeating your foundational phrase, I'll call it, or foundational sentence. What's the worst thing that could happen? That really kept me engaged as a listener. Rather than have you just simply tell a story, you actually kept me engaged with your body gestures. I wouldn't want to meet you in a dark alley, Bill, as I saw you make the throwing of spaghetti cans and coming into a fight situation and facing a knife attacker come to life. I also liked how you sped up at one point with your vocal variety when you were listing the types of foods you were throwing. My goodness, that person never had a chance. What I'd like you to consider, Bill, is to add some dialogue that brings us into the moment. Tell your speech from your story, use storytelling from the present tense. As Darren Lacroix says, these are effective techniques in storytelling to make them more vivid. Perhaps you missed an opportunity to add another gesture in there with your foundational phrase to make it more impactful. Consider doing a gesture like this. What's the worst thing that could happen? Shrugging your shoulders, perhaps. Consider the speed of your voice. Speed up when there's a lot of suspense. Maybe add some quiet parts to add to your vocal variety of your speech. In closing, Bill, you have a great foundation with your existing body language and vocal variety, with your foundational phrase. Consider adding dialogue for impact and to add to the vocal variety, adding a gesture to your foundational phrase. And these techniques will elevate your speech. Congratulations, Phil, on a job well done.
Thank you, Janet. And we'll now pass the virtual lectern over to Eve to evaluate Greg's speech. Help me welcome Eve.
Well, thank you, Mr. General Evaluator, Toastmasters, and especially Greg. This is going to be a speech for the International Speech Contest that you'll want some feedback on to help you improve your presentation, to move on to the area, division, and perhaps even the district level. I hope I can help you, and some of the others can also help you as well. My approach often is content, organization, and delivery, COD, COD. Let me talk a little bit about the content. I thought your content was extremely rich. And one of the things that you wanted to know was whether or not it left some emotion. Well, I think any speech that has a call about cancer and people can relate to that, it's very emotionally packed. So yes, there was emotion for me, and probably everybody in the room I can't speak for, but I assume lots of people are touched by this cancer. The big message for me was how much into the future you were looking and how much your friend Kevin touched your life to sort of maybe turn your whole way of living upside down. So then, well, you all of a sudden could make a lot more money doing your new job as realtor. However, it wasn't for yourself. It was for the future generations in your clan, in your family, and not only on an educational level, but also on having a place to live, because let's face it, having a place to live these days is extremely expensive. Not everybody could afford that. So having this trust that you put together is like, oh, that's a really interesting and very important idea, because a lot of people out there need help. Not everybody in a family is on equal setting. Some are richer, some are not so rich. And so to help distribute the wealth in the way that you're doing is a very interesting idea. So, okay, so much for content. The organization. Okay, I was a little bit scrambling at the very beginning because you mentioned you had a friend David, and then you had Kevin, and there was yourself, and I was just trying to sort out who all these other people were. Well, I knew Kevin because he's a fellow who had cancer, unfortunately. Uh, so perhaps I I don't know if David was such an important person in your story. Uh, that's just me. I got lost with David. So so I'm just going to throw that in terms of the organization. That at the very beginning caught me struggling to catch up with who this person was and how he was going to fit into the rest of your narrative. Okay, and in terms of the delivery I thought was well paced. It was pronunciation was excellent. What I would have liked to have seen is perhaps a little bit more looking at us directly in the camera. I saw you looking to the left, pondering, looking to the right, looking very pensive. And it would also be nice to just look at us in the camera, in certain moments, because you had a series of very interesting questions. Like, for example, what do you do to improve the life of another? That's a really important question. And so perhaps those kind of questions look at us in the camera, and perhaps put a pause before that question, and then put a pause right after that question so it highlights that question. You had so many good moments in this presentation. I followed it after I got through the resolution of the opening, who David was and all this. The rest just followed nicely for me, and I felt good about listening to your presentation. So thank you for sharing this amazing story of yours, and I look forward to seeing how it'll show up in the area contest, and I'm sure it'll make it to the division contest as well, and hopefully to the district contest. So congratulations, Greg. Well done.
Thank you, Eve. With regard to the round robin evaluations, we'll first look at Bill's speech, and I won't include obviously Janet in this, as she has given her full evaluation. And Madam Timer, if we can allow a minute, as was mentioned, and we'll start with Judy. Judy, what did you think of Bill's speech?
Mr. GE, thank you, and especially Bill. Bill, I really enjoyed that speech. My goodness, you had me interested and wondering, oh my goodness, what's the worst thing that can happen? Oh my goodness, Bill, are you going to be Bill? Are you going to be all right? Like, you really had me. You just really had me on the edge of my chair. But and I did wonder what happened to the girl at the cash register. I was hoping you had have said, run, run, because now the guy's after me. But anyway, I couldn't see you, Bill. As you know, I can't see the screen, so I didn't see your gestures, but I heard your voice, and you were really excited, and you got me all excited, and I was hoping you were going to be all right. I really liked your speech. I just really liked it. That's all, Bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy. Next on my screen is Eve.
Hi, thank you, Mr. GE, Toastmasters, and especially Bill. Thanks again for your presentation, Bill. You know what? I would say this is one of your best speeches ever. It was amazing. I just enjoyed it from start to finish. It was like a suspense, and I really enjoyed when you had that twist. Oh, this was just a practice, by the way. not really surprised me, and I'm sure everyone who was listening. And the way you delivered it too, you had an excellent pace, and then you had pauses, and you made a wonderful type of presentation to demonstrate exactly gestures, vocal variety. You were so successful with this. I'm just going to leave it at that. Congratulations. I enjoyed this. You did one of your best speeches ever.
Thank you, Eve. Matthew.
Mr. G and fellow Toastmasters, Bill, I have to say that speech was well done. First, I want to say I really love the background. You put us at the scene of the crime. It made us feel like we were all right there. And I really, you had really good gestures and good vocal variety, and you kept us interested. You kept us, as Judy said, on the edge of our seat. What's going to happen next? Are they going to be all right? What's going to happen? Oh no, Bill's in handcuffs. Is he going to jail? And then you surprise us by saying, oh, well, it was all staged. And Bill could have been the hero, but it was all set up. I really think you did very well on this speech, and I really enjoyed it, and looking forward to the next one.
Thank you, Matthew. Jeremy.
Yes.
Can you talk a little about Bill's speech, please, and what thoughts you have on it?
On Bill's speech. You hear me okay? I find it very, very interesting, to put it that way. To me, it was more like an act than just a speech. Whenever I hear somebody a speech, I expect to see somebody like sitting like you see right here. But he had an action, he had a backdrop. I found it was very gripping. Keep your attention all the time. And I thought it was well acted. And I was surprised at the end result where he got charged for some people were doing a practice. But I found it very, very convincing, very realistic. It was an act rather than just a plain speech. And I just can't really say any more than that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeremy. Greg, you may well have been involved in preparing your own speech at the time, but can we have a few comments from you on Bill's speech?
Yes, thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. And thank you, Bill. You know, Bill, I was there with you. You relived this incident for me, and I was able to, it caused me to think, how would I react in a situation like this? What's the worst thing that would happen? You know, this was your friend's daughter. You know, there's consequences here, or potentially bad consequences. And so, you know, you were there and you told us, you know, and all these things went through your mind. And so I appreciate that. I appreciate you allowing us to experience that with you all over again. Now, one thing you might do to really enhance this is to add a little more internal dialogue of what you were feeling as what was going through your mind as you were living this experience, so that we can get a little more insight into your point of view. Overall, I really enjoyed it, and thank you for sharing. Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Greg. And now Carolyn.
It's too difficult working this and at the same time as trying to give an evaluation, but I'll try. I did enjoy your speech, Bill. I think it's one of the better speeches that I've heard you do. You had the perfect background for what you were telling us. You made us really stop and think, what would we do in a situation like that? And what's the worst thing that could happen to my friend Bill? I wondered about that several times along the way. What's going to happen to Bill? And I really enjoyed it. The only thing that I will say to you that I think I would like to see you improve on is it was good to see that you had the signs, you had visual aids, but I would want to hold up something that looks like more of an official document rather than just a piece of cardboard that says subpoena. I would rather see, like some kind of piece of paper with some writing on it, maybe subpoena in the top corner that looks more official. But overall, it was a great speech, and I look forward to hearing more from you. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Carolyn. Now for my comments, Bill, as has been mentioned, I love the way you repeated the phrase, what's the worst thing that can happen? That reinforced the progress of your speech all the way along and the events that occurred. I also really liked your phrasing and the pause. My arsenal was empty. Where do we go from here, I thought. And then you brought in the fact that this was a staged event. As Carolyn mentioned, the one thing I would have liked is possibly for you, if you could acquire them, have a pair of handcuffs just to illuminate that part of your speech. But as Eve has mentioned and others, this was a wonderful speech. Great job. Thank you. And now we will round robin on Greg's speech. And I will start with Bill.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, and especially Greg. That was an excellent speech to use as a contest speech. It has the emotions. It has a little bit of a conclusion. Something to inspire your audience to action. And I like the idea of being able to transfer those emotions of sadness and inspiration and tragedy into a let's be active. What are we going to do? What can you do? And I would like to, if anything, see improvement in putting that message with a little bit more emphasis. What can you do to inspire others as well as inspiring yourself? Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Bill. Janet, can we have your comments, please?
So sorry, I just got a call. Can you pass on me here?
By all means. Jeremy, your thoughts on Greg's speech.
Mr. General Evaluator, my thoughts, I thought it started off very like the sort of situation that you'd see in a school life, but it led on quickly to the idea of doing something for other people, living your life for the benefit of others, not just for yourself. I don't see very much of that around, but I've found that it was a point to be taken. I felt that the president got a bit complicated near the end of the presentation. I lost the track of it a little bit. There seemed to be a lot of words, but I got the general gist, which is the important thing of this. That you live your life, not just for yourself, but others. If he is an architect, and if he can provide houses for his family members, or maybe outside the family, it is something well worth doing. Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Jeremy. Janet.
Sorry, thanks for coming back to me. Greg, I really enjoyed your message and your heartfelt speech.
Mhm.
Like Eve said, you have good material there. You've got something that tears at our heartstrings. I like how what I liked that was neat about it was that the way you phrased it, like it was like almost like live for me because I can't continue on, and live, for yourself as well, live doubly well. So that was kind of a unique way of phrasing this, the idea of carrying on and living for someone else who isn't around. What I'd like to see for your consideration is to distinguish your characters further with maybe the use of you could use that like a hat for one of them, remove it, and then the other one maybe has no additional prop, or has maybe glasses perched on their nose, or some baseball cap, like something, if you're talking about the college students, something that college students would wear. If you're interested in having us look at the structure of your speech, I'm kind of visual, so I wouldn't mind helping you with the comments that Eve mentioned, if you are open to that. So that's something I would love to explore with you. Back to you, David.
Thank you, Janet. Matthew.
Greg, I really enjoyed that speech, and it's actually resonated with me a little, well, a lot, because as you know, we've had somebody in our club just pass away, and then I also learned a couple of weeks ago somebody I used to work with just passed away, and he was in his late 40s. And somebody I was talking to about his death actually said, we have to live life to the fullest. Go on that vacation, take that next step, take some risks. And I really enjoy how you brought up memories that you had with Kevin, like swimming in the Missouri River, skinny dipping, and coming out blue. It might have seemed crazy at the time, but when you look back, how that puts a smile to your face. I really enjoyed how you talked about living, you're not just living for one, but living for two. Live while we can. One thing I might suggest, I mean, if you did have a picture of yourself and Kevin, maybe somehow find some way to incorporate that. But other than that, I think your speech was very well done, Mr. GE.
Thank you, Matthew. Judy.
Yes, Mr. GE, fellow Toastmasters, and Greg, thank you for your speech. It certainly caught the emotion. It caught my emotion for sure, and all of us. It was very heartwarming for sure. And it twigged little memories of mine too, when you go back and what happens when someone that you love is gone, or what would happen if you only had a certain amount of time. What would you do with it? And who would you do with it? Who would you go with? And it was just very inspirational and very emotional. And your voice even, it almost to me seemed to crack a few times, like you really had the emotion going through in your voice. And I really liked that. It was just a very inspirational, emotional speech, and good luck with it. Thank you, Greg.
Thank you, Judy. Carolyn.
Okay, Mr. General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, especially Greg. I enjoyed your speech immensely. You have the basis of a very good inspirational speech for the International Speech Contest. Like Eve, I was a little bit confused on some of the characters as you went along. I finally sort of got the gist of who you were talking about in about the middle of the speech. I finally, because I couldn't remember who David was. And then, went on to Kevin. It tugged at my heartstrings too, because not only did we lose a member of our club, but the day before we lost a member of our club, my daughter's best friend passed away. And she had been sick for a long time. And so those emotions and her telling my daughter, you know, make sure that you live your life to the fullest and that kind of thing went on between my daughter and her. And so it really tugged at my heartstrings too. Keep working on it a little bit and try and get those characters a little bit more defined, and you will have yourself a very excellent speech. Thank you.
Thank you, Carolyn. Greg, the first thing that I thought of, that's an interesting speech title, Live for Two. I think it's very appropriate. I like the way that you introduced that title as a theme into your speech and continued with it. I enjoyed the call to action at the end. As has been mentioned, I found you looking away from the Zoom camera every so often, which to me was a little distracting. In a speech contest, international speech, my feeling is concentrate on the audience. Try not to look away. That, to a great degree, is a distraction you can't afford in an international speech contest. I've competed at the district level a few times in that contest, and that's something that's come back to me. But great speech, my feeling is that that's, as has been mentioned, a very, very well delivered and appropriate speech for the international speech contest. All the very best. Take care. With regard to the balance of the general evaluation session, I am grammarian and I chose at the last minute fair weather supporter as the word of the day, and lo, it was used. Well done. Matt used it twice, Greg once, Janet twice, and I used it. I liked the use of language this evening. Matthew said resonated. Judy relished. Eve, phony baloney. Janet came up, the first one, with the opposite of fair weather supporter, die hard, and that was used by a number of different people. Greg used root for, and there were several other words that I liked. I mentioned about Bill saying, my arsenal was empty. So overall, good use of language this evening. However, there have been a few instances where sentences started with now, and the word okay was used. And in the and ah section, we had numerous ums this evening, numerous ahs, and numerous run-on sentences. As I've mentioned before, if you're writing a letter or writing a book or a novel or whatever, you use a period at the end of a sentence. Treat what you're saying that way and use that period as what it's supposed to be, a pause, to allow us to take in what you've already said before continuing on. But overall, I thought it was a wonderful evening with regard to use of language. Congratulations, everyone. Ums, quite a few this evening. Be aware of them and don't try to use them. When you're thinking of that coming up, pause. It's very effective. I'll now ask for our Quizmasters report to test our listening skills from Jeremy. Help me welcome Jeremy.
General evaluator, most well, and fellow Toastmaster. Some of these questions may seem kind of trite, if that's the right word to use. First one.
If we can all unmute, please.
At the beginning of at the beginning of the meeting, how many participants were there?
Nine?
There were 9. For some reason, you could say, you first count, you'd see a 10. And there's a new addition right now, Alison and Rhonda. But I find for some reason, there are 2 Greg Giorgios. Here's an obvious one. In a sport, where are the North Stars? Which city?
Minnesota.
Which North Stars?
Yes, but you know,
There was a
I don't have-
Minneapolis. There was a Minneapolis St. Paul North
It's probably not-
Stars, and there's a Thunder
the one-
Bay North
The ones
Stars.
mentioned here, just say the Thunder Bay one.
Thunder Bay one.
What was the subject of Janet's jokes?
Hockey.
Hockey.
Or
No.
What was the time allowed for the topics, the introductions? I don't know, they weren't table topic. What was the time allowed? What was the timing?
Minute
1
and a half.
minute.
1.5 minutes? For the green,
1
yellow,
minute
red.
and 1:30.
What TV channel does Judy not have?
TSN.
That.
TSN.
Yeah.
Who was the third person on the table topics? Mr. David Goldsworthy.
Oh, okay.
And who was the fourth?
Eve.
Eve.
Carolyn.
Thank you, Eve.
So, very trite question. I found it hard to come up with some more meaningful and authoritative. Excuse me using the word trite. I thought it's a new word to add to the list of words to put up at the start of a meeting. Mr. General Evaluator and fellow Toastmasters.
Thank you, Jeremy. I omitted to use or to mention Jeremy's use of hunker down. I like that phrase. Good job.
Which
We'll
one
now
again?
ask
Yeah.
hunker down.
Yeah.
We'll now ask Carolyn to deliver her timers report. Help me welcome Carolyn.
Okay, Mr. General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters. I had a lot of timing to do tonight because of those extra evaluations. And so I did not write down how long everybody took for those extra evaluations. But actually, I think almost everybody was within that 1 minute. So that was good. We did start our meeting on time tonight or not on time. Sorry, we were a little bit late tonight because we were waiting to make sure that we had our Toastmaster here and we were kind of keeping things sort of loose so that he could fulfill his position when he came. That was fine. The introductions, and I do have the times listed for introductions, was Matthew 1 minute 49 seconds, Janet 1 minute 26, Bill 1:15, Greg 1:45, myself 1:27, Jeremy 49, Eve 1 minute 30, and Judy 1 minute and 2. And I, for some reason, didn't get you, David. I guess you didn't introduce yourself. I don't know. I was just so, had too many things working on me at that time, trying to figure things out. Now for the table topics, Jeremy spoke for 1 minute 55 seconds, Eve for 1 minute 28, David 1 minute 23, and Judy 1 minute and 22. Now Janet's evaluation of the speech, whichever one she evaluated, her evaluation was 3 minutes and 4 seconds. And I guess it was Eve evaluated. Who evaluated the other one? Eve. 4 minutes and 50 seconds. The evaluation took almost longer than the speech, and we shouldn't be doing that for sure. Now, Bill's asked for between 5 and 7 minutes, and he spoke for 6 minutes and 33 seconds. And Greg was using the time for contest. So again, it was between 5 and 7. He spoke for 6 minutes and 11 seconds. So well done to you two. It's now like 8:43. We're right on track to finish our meeting on time, hopefully. So I'll pass it on back to you, Mr. G.
Thank you, Carolyn, for an excellent timers report. And we do acknowledge how much you had to do this evening, and you did it very well. Great job.
Thank you.
For my pleasure. For my overall evaluation, I really enjoyed this meeting. 2 excellent speeches. Matthew, I liked your theme. I liked the fact that we all, in our own ways, commented upon it very well. Janet, the jokes were groaners, but I like humor in a meeting. It gives us a little uplift, and those groaners I really enjoy. The word of the day, as I mentioned, was used well. With regard to what Carolyn mentioned, we started the meeting a little late. And I know that, Matthew, in your case, you've got children to not contend with, but to be accounted for. And we understand that. But we should all try and be here at the latest 5 minutes to 7. I know things happen, but as was seen with Bill taking phone calls, it would be nice if you had reason not to be here, please let us know beforehand, either by email or phone or whichever system you have. We didn't have that good an evening with addressing the lectern. Quite a few people after they'd spoken just left a blank. And we don't know if you're going to continue or not. So please, when you finish speaking, readdress the lectern. The other thing is, we talk about the Blue Jays. There were 3 Jays tonight whose names we don't know, as well as my own. Janet, Judy, and Jeremy, we don't know who you are. You introduce yourself by name. Please remember that. Overall, there were a great meeting. Very much enjoyed it. Great speeches, as I mentioned, and all the best to you, Greg, for your area contest. And with that, I will pass the Zoom lectern back to our Toastmaster, Matthew. Help me welcome Matthew.
Thank you, Mr. G. I thought the meeting went very well, and everybody alluded to the theme, even if they didn't follow playoffs. They related it to sports somehow, which was really good. So before we close the meeting, are there any announcements from the floor? Bill.
Mr. Toastmaster, dues are due. We have a few days until the end of the month, and they have to be submitted before April 1st in order for our club to be in good standing. And since Greg has joined our club and plans to compete on behalf of the club at our area competition, it's important for him that our club is in good standing. So our memberships need to be paid.
There's only 3 that haven't been paid yet, Bill, but we still need to have them paid before the end of the month.
All right. Thank you. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Any other announcements? Oh, David.
Just a reminder that the area contest is April 11th. Therefore, we should be, do we have a meeting before that time? One meeting before that. So please be aware of that. April 11th is the next meeting. Oh, and with regard to one of my comments I missed, on the bottom of the agenda, it shows next meeting date, March 26th, which is today. Now, that next meeting date should be the first one in April. So please bear that in mind for future agendas. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Mr. GE. Oh, Eve?
Yes, our next meeting is April the 9th.
Thank you.
Okay, any more announcements?
I see we have a guest that has just joined us. I'm not sure if Allison is listening and able to respond. Apparently not.
Yeah. And so next, just make the preparations for the next meeting.
May I suggest that if Greg is open to it, would you like to present a game with some of the revisions that we gave you?
That would be great. If there's room, I don't want to hog the speaking slots.
Oh, it's okay, I think. It's not a problem.
Okay, I'm listening for people to step up and take on roles.
Can I do the word?
You may.
Thank you.
I have a joke.
What is the date for this next meeting, may I ask?
April
The
9th.
9th.
April 9th,
9th.
yeah.
9th. Oh, no. Okay. I have
I'll
a
do-
rush.
I'll do table topics, Bill.
Okay,
I have to do something more. I don't like it, but I could be timer again with all those cards.
all right. Thank you, Jeremy.
Yeah, it's a
Okay.
tough job, Jeremy. It is. So
Sorry?
thank you. Appreciate it.
I have to do some more things. I have
if
been a general
Jeremy's-
evaluator and all that in the past at other clubs. I have to get into that.
If,
Maybe not a speech, but I can think of some topic.
Sure. Okay,
if Jeremy's going to be timer, I can be
Yeah.
quiz master.
all right.
Mine were a bit disjointed today, afraid, after the late start. Didn't
Well,
really
Don
get
will,
going
Don will
properly.
be back.
All right. We'll put
Oh.
down as general evaluator. That way,
I can do both.
Matthew vote no.
Yeah.
And okay,
Is there a theme for next meeting yet?
We have to have a Toastmaster first.
well,
Oh,
that's me.
Oh, okay.
It's not, is it too far past the beginning of April to use April Fools as a,
It's never too far past. April Fools could be any day.
No. April Fool's good.
okay, we'll use April Fool as the theme for the meeting.
That's what
Okay,
Mother
cool.
Nature's playing on us today.
Yes. Is there any other person who would like to give a speech presentation? We have opening for at least
Me.
Eve.
Yes.
Now,
wanna
we do
finish
need
my level.
evaluators.
I want to finish my level 1.
Okay,
for-
Well, that would be good because I've been looking at our distinguished club plan and we need 4 level 1s and 2 level 2s.
mhm,
And one, I think we'll need probably 2 more members
yes. got-
because unfortunately.
I have a level 1 and 2 I can give to this club.
All right. Thank you, Greg. We do need an evaluator. I think probably, Greg, if you would be open for this, if it were simply a round robin evaluation rather than someone specifically giving you an evaluation, because
That would be great.
when you get to the speech competition, you're not going to get an evaluation, you're going to get judged. So it will be what people are looking for. So, okay. But we do need an evaluator for Eve's presentation.
Well,
Matthew, would you be prepared for that?
Sure.
Okay. All right, we have a full agenda. I will be sharing that a few days before our next meeting. And if there are any changes, then please contact me sometime between now and then. And we still haven't heard from our guest, Allison. Are you with us, Allison, and able to respond?
Still muted.
I'm sensing not. All right, I'll turn the lectern back over to our Toastmaster for this evening, who will adjourn the meeting.
Thank you, Bill. Well, if there's no more comments, I officially declare this meeting adjourned. Have a good night, everyone.
You
I have
too.
you too.
Bye,
I have a
everybody.
question. I saw that the meeting was being recorded. How could I get a copy of that so I could review my speech?
I can send you that, Greg, once it's been converted.
That would be great.
Yes,
Okay, and I know it will be a large file, so if you want to send it as a Google file, that would be fine, or however you want to do that.
okay. I'm not sure how that works. I'm still not very tech savvy. I'll try and see how it works.
Yeah, call me. I'll put my number in chat. If
Okay,
you have any questions on how that might work, call me, and I've got several options, and I can walk you through it.
sure. Okay, good.
What do you do with the videos once you have them?
I generally I save them to my computer, and therefore I have limited space available. So after a few days, if I've had no requests to share it, then I just delete it just to save space on my computer.
If you would like, I would be glad to. What I do with other clubs is we upload them to YouTube and make the link unlisted so that the only people that can see it are the people that actually have the link for the video. And that way we can, and we can go back if we want to and look at speeches that we've done in the past. And I would be happy to post these to YouTube. It's not very time consuming. And, I do it for other clubs if that's something that would be of interest to the club.
Sure,
Sure.
that
Sounds
would be
good.
great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Well, I appreciate the feedback, and I look forward to being.
Greg, I have a question for you.
Bye, everybody.
Did you
Sure,
receive
go ahead.
did you receive a letter from the club yet?
I just got it in the mail today, Carolyn.
Oh, good. I just
Thank you very
was
much.
concerned. I was concerned that you weren't going to get it, but okay. I mailed it in Grand Marais last weekend. So
Oh, nice. Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Matter of fact, just before I hopped on, I saw the pin. So thank you very much.
oh, you're welcome.
That was a nice gesture.
Well, that's what we do for our new members. We give them all pins as a general rule. So even though
I
you're
remember-
members of other clubs, you still need to get a pin from this club. So
Nice. I'm a member of a club that we give out Toastmasters bookmarks.
okay. Okay.
And so Matter of fact, I've got about a dozen of them sitting over there. I'm typically the person that emails or mails that out.
Well, I was happened to be going to Grand Marais, and so I just said, if it's easier. I knew you'd get it much faster from Grand Marais if I mailed it than from here. If I mailed it from here, you would still be waiting for it probably 3 weeks from now.
Where exactly are you located?
We're in Thunder Bay.
Oh, okay.
And so and for me, it's only a 20-minute drive to the border. So I go to the border and mail it at the border on the American side, and then it goes through pretty quick.
Oh, nice. So it's real convenient for you if there's something you want to buy in the US. You just
Oh yeah, have it sent to Rydens. Yeah.
Yeah, anything we want to buy in the US, we have to first of all take a mortgage on the house. Our dollar doesn't sit very well with the American dollar right now.
No,
I
it doesn't.
haven't followed it.
No, it's
Yeah.
the last time I looked at my MasterCard statement, it was 135.
135. Wow.
Yeah.
Worse.
Yeah. So
Yeah, and when I was growing up, I was about 150 miles south of Winnipeg, and I remember going up there a couple times, and the prices up there just seemed astronomical because this is 50, 60 years ago.
and yet there were times in that 50 or 60 years when our dollar was worth more than yours. So
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
it's just strange, and it goes however it goes, and
Yeah, most definitely. All right, well, I'm going to have to run, but thank you very much. I
well,
appreciate
thank you.
all.
As I said, that's a very good base for your international speech. So work on
I'll
it.
work
Yeah.
on it. Yeah, I'll work on it, and I'll definitely work on blocking and making the voices different for David and
Yeah, just do
Kevin.
something to make it them a little bit more distinctive. Yeah.
Yeah, and I will. The next time I give it, it'll be much more polished, and so
Well,
I'll look forward to your feedback on the night.
I'm looking forward to hearing it again.
Mhm.
Great.
So
Great.
All right. Well, thank you all very much. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
yeah, you
You
too.
too.
Bye.
See
Night.
you in 2
Take care.
weeks.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Night night.
Mm.